Listen, I know everyone's complaining about the early stoppage, but you never want to see anyone get hurt. Okay? What do you guys want? You want to see him get hurt? You want to see Jared Cannonier get hurt? Come on, there was 3 minutes left on the clock, is what I would be saying if I was a fool. We just saw the earliest stoppage since Ion Cutelaba and Magomed Ankalaev. The worst stoppage of the last 5 or 6 years. Jason Herzog rarely messes up, right? If I were to make a ref tier list, he'd be in the S tier. He's one of those guys where you don't really remember a lot of Jason Herzog moments, but you remember that you don't remember a lot of those moments because he doesn't mess up. This is going to be memorable. Jason Herzog just ruined Jared Cannonier's entire career, and he also ruined Nassourdine Imavov's TKO moment. And you can't even sit here and tell me, come on, he was on his way to getting finished. No, you can't tell me that because we don't know. That's the issue. We don't know if Jared Cannonier was going to get TKO'd, and we also don't know that he was going to survive. We don't know. You can't just stop a fight when someone gets rocked. That's exactly what just happened. 4th round. Jared Cannonier's career on the line. He's 40 years old. He needs this win. Imavov, important fight for him too. Both guys need it. Both guys are gritting down. It's a battle of attrition. Nassourdine Imavov rocks Jared Cannonier in the 4th round. Cannonier's out on his feet. He does the jitterbug. You know, the old Cannonier jitterbug. He gets rocked against Whitaker. He does one of those. He kind of falls over and folds over himself on the feet. And then he backs up against the cage. He does a really good job running across the octagon to the other side to try to bide himself some time. He's there mentally. He knows what he's doing. Let's get away from this exchange. Gets hit with another shot, but continues to circle across the cage during that time where Jared Cannonier gets rocked to the moment where he runs across the cage, circles around the octagon. You can visibly see him recovering. You can see him getting better. Nassourdine Imavov lands a couple of shots in close range. Cannonier continues to move. He's got his hands up. He's defending. He's moving. Imavov throws one more punch and the ref steps in. 10 seconds prior to the ref stepping in, Jared Cannonier was in worse condition. How many times have we seen fighters get rocked, get dropped multiple times, and find a way to survive? How many times you see people get rocked, get dropped, they're on the ground, they're recovering? Last week, Cesar Almeida gets dropped against Roman Kopylov in the 1st round. Roman Kopylov lands a couple of follow-up shots after that. Refs doesn't step in. Cesar Almeida is able to outstrike him in the 2nd and 3rd. Still lost the fight, but was able to survive. How many times have we seen people get rocked on the feet and survive? Hey, you may as well stop Jared Cannonier and Marvin Vettori in the 1st round because Vettori rocked him. Vettori rocked him just as badly in the 1st. May as well step in every single time a fighter gets hurt. What is this? Pee-wee boxing? Pee-wee football? No one gets hurt. That's not a TKO. A TKO is when you can't defend yourself anymore. They just robbed Jared Cannonier a chance to survive in the 4th round of the most important fight of his entire career. And they also just totally ruined a finish from Nassourdine Imavov. The biggest win of his career, which you can't even fucking consider it a win. It's basically a who knows what would have happened moment. I don't give a fuck if he was rocked. Dude, he was rocked. It was only getting worse. Really? Because it was literally getting better. I've seen people say that in comment sections. There were 3 minutes left. You know where that was going. You can't say that. There have been a million moments where people get hurt and survive. He got dropped, man. Dude, Cannonier got rocked against Vettori. Of course you got to stop the fight. He was rocked. You know where that was going. Really? Hey, you should have stopped the Cannonier and Whitaker fight. 3rd round, Whitaker rocks him. Just stop the fight. May as well give Whitaker a TKO, right? Oh, no. No, because Cannonier was defending himself there. One of the worst, most abominable stoppages I've ever seen in my entire life. You never want to see a standing TKO, but especially this case where Cannonier is defending himself. And I'll show you guys my reaction, my live reaction. Showcasing some good survival instinct, so he's out on his feet still. He's out on his feet still. Knee! Imavov's kneeing him. He's going to hurt Cannonier. He might finish him. Imavov's got Cannonier so out on his feet. Big shot from... No! No! What? What are you doing? He stepped in and stopped the fight. What the fuck? Jason Herzog with the shittiest stoppage in UFC history. What the fuck are you doing, man? You just ruined a main event. You just ruined Jared Cannonier's chance to freaking battle back. You just took away Imavov's clean KO. Congrats, you just ruined a fucking moment. Imavov could have had a KO without controversy. The earliest stoppage since Ion Cutelaba and Magomed Ankalaev. Jason Herzog, what on earth are you doing, man? What the heck? He was in there, man. Don't know if he survives. Let us find out. Let us find out, you fuck. God. Are you kidding me, man? Let this dude fight. Fuck you. You just... And the thing is, this is not even good for Imavov. I mean, it really sucks because the card was shaping out to be great. Dominick Reyes had won. We'll talk about that. Cannonier and Imavov were going back and forth. When it looked like Cannonier was starting to take over the early rounds and Imavov is sort of known as someone that slows down in his fights, we thought, okay, Cannonier's going to easily win this. It's only a matter of time before he, starts to break Imavov. At some point in the third round, Imavov starts gritting down on the mouthpiece. I think it was actually in the later half of the second round where Cannonier was ahead and Imavov, you could literally see him at one point make a switch and start throwing with some really bad intention. Third round, Imavov starting to come on strong. Fourth round, one moment Imavov has where he rocks Cannonier and the fight's over. The first big moment of the fight. First moment someone gets rocked. 5-round fight, right? Main event. Let's give the fans a show. Oh, he gets rocked. This is great. This makes it an even better fight. Will he survive? We'll never know. We'll never know. Will Imavov get the TKO? Will he get the finish? We'll never know. We'll never know. Cannonier looked good. Cannonier was looking good. He was doing well. Unable to really rock Imavov in this fight, and he's known for being a big power puncher, but one thing that people don't give Imavov enough credit for is the fact that he actually has a granite chin. I've never seen Imavov get rocked. But you got to give Imavov some credit for his performance overall because, again, he's kind of known as someone that slows down in fights. He's known as someone who has a bit of a suspicious gas tank. And Cannonier, after his last performance, fair enough, Marvin Vettori, not really able to give him a lot of issues after that first moment where he rocked him. Kind of surprised that Vettori wasn't awarded a KO there, but either way, Cannonier broke a strike record at the age of 40 against Marvin Vettori. Walked him down, didn't get tired, landed like 280 plus significant strikes. I was thinking, man, Cannonier's, if he's already winning the early rounds, he's going to destroy Imavov in the later half of the fight. Imavov showcases heart, hurts Cannonier in the fourth. We just don't know where that fight would have went. They robbed Imavov of a good finish without controversy because now it's totally clouded by controversy. And Jared Cannonier, he's not a big star. He doesn't have a big name. He doesn't have any clout. 2-fight win streak. Probably is a guy that needs 4 wins in a row. But at least if he beats Imavov, it's going to be undeniable at that point that even though the UFC doesn't love him, hey, whatever it takes, just not Jared Cannonier. Eventually, he's going to be undeniable and they're going to have to give him a number 1 contenders fight. He survives that. He wins that fight. Jared Cannonier is 1 fight away from a title. Jared Cannonier could be the next Glover Teixeira. But no. Ref ruins it. And he should understand that he just totally ruined his career. As I said, Jared Cannonier is not a big name. He doesn't have a lot of clout. The UFC will not give him a big fight after this. They might give him a main event. They will not give him anyone close to the top 5. They just ruined it. I hope they reward him, but they won't. They won't. They will not focus on Jared Cannonier. They'll toss him to the side. Now it's going to take 10 fights in a row for Cannonier to get it back to a title fight. And Imavov, fine, maybe he'll work his way up, but, I mean, he will not get credit for this TKO. He'll get credit for the performance. Again, he lost the first round and a half and started biting down, gritting down on the mouthpiece, moving forward. His cardio looked good. His toughness looked good. Again, it was a battle of attrition. We just don't know what would happen. You cannot really sit here and tell me that that was a clean TKO. I know it says TKO on the sheet of paper, but I've seen hundreds of fights where people get hurt on the feet and they recover, they survive. Let the man get dropped. Let him have a moment after he gets dropped. If Imavov drops Cannonier and then lands a follow-up shot, then step in. All right? If Imavov rocks Cannonier again and Cannonier does another jitterbug, then we're talking, okay, I could kind of see it. There wasn't any of that going on. Cannonier gets rocked. He does a little bit of a chicken dance. And from the moment that chicken dance ends to the moment the fight is stopped, he has only improved. Main event ruined. Card basically ruined. I'm sitting here complaining to my chat. Dominick Reyes is on the TV. And I should be elated. I should be having a celebration right now. Even if Imavov gets the TKO, I would say, at least Dominick Reyes won. And Dominick Reyes did win. But, again, they just totally ruined the whole fucking card with that. Unbelievable. You don't stop fights when someone gets rocked. Let's get on to the next fight. Dominick Reyes might just be the happiest man on the face of the earth. And I'm happy to see that because he got the KO tonight, knocking out Dustin Jacoby with a wicked counter left hand. It seemed the whole fight like Reyes was setting up that step back left hand on the back foot. I was saying in my chat, it looks like Reyes is trying to bait him in like T would back in the day when Woodley would back up against the fence, throw an overhand. We saw the power that Dominick Reyes had in his hand. It's been a minute, okay? Jan Blachowicz is a granite chin. Yuri Prohaska is a granite chin. It was horrible that Reyes lost to Ryan Spann because Ryan Spann doesn't have a granite chin. But Reyes was fighting Ryan Spann, throwing body kicks in close range and looking goofy, and he got flatlined with a jab. All this pity party talk for Dominick Reyes, he shut that shit down tonight. And everyone's happy that that's not the case anymore. Dominick Reyes just shut down having the worst and most tragic UFC career in history. Not worst career, but the most tragic. No longer the case. We're not looking at Dominick Reyes' career and saying it's a tragedy. He's on the up and up. Dominick Reyes knocking out an ex-Glory kickboxer, a crafty vet that's always game, that's always pretty good on the feet. It's honestly feeling like 2018, 2019 with this win again, when Reyes was sleeping dudes like Chris Weidman. I'm just happy that Reyes got it done, and I'm going to show you guys my live reaction. Big overhand off the cage. Is that what he's looking for? Oh! Jacoby touched Reyes with a right hand. Got a reaction out of him. Oh, now Reyes is getting clobbered. Oh, now it's... Oh! Oh! Reyes rocked him! Oh! Reyes is going to knock him out! He's got Jacoby up against the fence and he's teeing off. Jacoby's out on his... Dominick Reyes KOs him! Yes! Dominick Reyes knocks out Dustin Jacoby. And he's back! Dominick Reyes doesn't even need to wrestle and he's back. Beautiful win. Let's go. I'm happy. I don't even care about my pick. Beautiful win for Dominick Reyes. The whole world needed to see that. Let's go. And in the build-up to this fight, I was 7-4. We started off the night at 2-3 on picks, and we worked our way up to 7-4. So we went from 2-3 to going 5-1 after that. I was saying, you know what? If I have to go 8-5 at the end of tonight, if Dominick Reyes wins and I get the main event right, we only go 8-5, it is what it is. I'm happy to get it wrong. I was happy to get this one wrong. You could just see him celebrating afterwards. He was punching the cage, like biggest smile in the world. You know, he got on the mic and was saying that, you know, he just got married or just got engaged and he's ready to have a family. And you know he needed this. You know he needed this. He needed the win money too. And I'm just really happy for him because if he lost tonight, he probably would have had to hang up the gloves for his own health and safety. You know, if he had gotten KO'd 4 times in a row, he would have had to find a whole new career. And getting engaged, trying to have a family right after that. I know Jacoby's got a family, but Jacoby's not beat John Jones and then got KO'd 3 times after, right? So, and he's had a whole career. Jacoby's had a long career. Glory kickboxer, UFC fighter. He'll be all right. Not the best chin. And not the most power, and not the best quick twitch speed does Justin Jacoby have. But you know what? Reyes outstruck him. And I was saying Reyes' way to win is going to be the wrestling. Maybe he could KO Jacoby, but I just think the world's too cruel for that to happen. And I was saying if he really wants to give himself the best chance, he should go for a takedown. Take down the kickboxer. Toss her ego out the wayside. He didn't need to. And now I want to see him fight Anthony Smith. I think Anthony Smith is the matchup to make. 100%. let's do Dominick Reyes versus someone else that's a little bit slow and a little bit old, because I just want to see Dominick Reyes win a couple, not get fed to the wolves just because he got one win again, right? Let's do him versus Anthony Smith. Ricky Turcios versus Raul Rosas Jr. Rosas Jr. seemed to be having a tough time early. He was controlling Ricky Turcios, but Turcios, from the moment this fight started, was fighting like a bat out of hell. I think he started the fight with like 3 or 4 kicks in the first 5 seconds with Sting on him. You could tell Turcios was like, dude, this ain't going to be easy. I know you're the UFC's cash cow or golden boy or whatever, but I'm going to make you work for this. He even did that on the ground too. Rosas was trying to out-grapple him, and Turcios, again, fighting like a Tasmanian devil on the ground, elbowing him, punching him off of his back, doing his best to get up to his feet. Even though Raul Rosas Jr. was controlling him on the ground, he was getting punched. He was getting landed on. He was getting elbowed. And the first round went to Ricky Turcios despite getting out-controlled. But before we get on to the second round, because I'm just remembering this now, there's a moment at the end of the first round where Ricky Turcios actually gets Raul Rosas' back. And it's looking ugly because it's like, shit. Another test that's a little bit too much for Rosas. Look, this guy's on his back now, and he's got the rear naked choke synced in. And Rosas is punching him on the face, right? But he's not fighting the choke. Ricky Turcios has a fully locked in rear naked choke. Raul Rosas literally with his hands out. Could have been playing patty cake. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. But he's throwing a couple punches. Not a lot of sting on them. And Ricky Turcios is unable to submit Raul Rosas Jr. There's like 30 seconds on the clock. If Jason Herzog was in there, maybe he would have stopped it. But, dude, straight up, I don't know how the heck Raul Rosas Jr. did not get choked out cold. He was not fighting this choke with his hands. There was a ghost in between the arms of Ricky Turcios and the neck of Raul Rosas Jr. And he's not even like, someone with no neck. He has a neck. He just can't get submitted. Dude had a fully locked in rear naked choke. And Rosas is out here punching him in the face. I don't know how the heck he was not choked unconscious, but he wasn't. He survives. He goes out there in the second round, gets Turcios' back, rear naked chokes him, right? And Turcios more normal in the sense that he actually can be choked out. So Raul Rosas Jr. does a really good job in this fight, managing his gas tank pretty well in the first round. He talked about in his post-fight speech in the cage, he was saying that he learned a great lesson against Christian Rodriguez, who was the only guy to beat him because he came out the gates in that fight looking for the finish, looking to get him out of there as soon as possible, and then he gassed out. And then Christian Rodriguez got the better of him. So he managed his gas tank better, and he was saying how him and his coaches were planning on really turning things up in the second round. So really good performance from Raul Rosas Jr. Third finish in his UFC career, 100% finish rate so far. I want to see Raul Rosas Jr. versus Cameron Simon. Or someone with a name. Maybe a Basharat, bro. Honestly, I don't mind that. Maybe a Basharat, bro. I know that people are going to say, no, not the Basharat bros. Come on, dude. Don't sentence him to death. But, dude, these guys can't hurt a fly. Maybe that's a little bit too soon because, they have those crafty grappling skills. Maybe they're just a little bit of a higher level, but they can't really finish people like Raul Rosas. Basharat bros are taking people to decision. Put him in there with someone that has a name, right? No one ranked. Someone was saying maybe Peyton Talbot. Peyton Talbot's way bigger than Raul Rosas and very dangerous. But I wouldn't be surprised if Raul Rosas would take him down and submit him. Either way, I don't want to cancel out two of the most exciting prospects. Just put him in there with someone that more fans are familiar with. Let's do that. Amazing win for Raul Rosas Jr. Great finish. And continues to be an entertaining grappler. Let's get on to the next one. Bruno Ferreira and Dustin Stoltzfus. Dustin Stoltzfus was fighting really well. And Dustin Stoltzfus is the guy that lost to Abu Smagomedov. And we kind of clowned that fact. All right? We kind of clowned Abu saying, dude, the only win he has is over Dustin Stoltzfus, who's like, only won one fight and lost 4 fights in the UFC. This guy's a can. He was able to go out there in his last fight and beat Punelli Soriano. Choked him out, which is why I picked Punelli Soriano tonight. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Dustin Stoltzfus, I was thinking, man, Stoltzfus is about to fluke it up again. And he's about to beat the hard puncher that Bruno Ferreira is. And he's rocking him and he's hurting him. And if Herzog was in there, maybe he would have stopped it. But, dude, Bruno Ferreira survived the early onslaught. Respect to Dustin Stoltzfus because, again, even though he won his last fight, he's still only like 2-4 in the UFC. He loses tonight, he could get cut. And he did lose tonight. but he was going for it. Like, he was fighting his heart out. But Bruno Ferreira caught him with a spinning elbow, rocked him badly, and finished Dustin Stoltzfus on the ground. A great one-round scrap, and that is the third KO that Bruno Ferreira has. And the reason why I picked him is because he's like a 100% finish rate KO guy. He knocks out everyone, and he's got a ton of power in his hands. But there were some hairy moments where, you know, things were getting a little bit weird, and he did seem to kind of slow down and gas out a little bit in this round, too. Even though it was only a one-round fight, it looked like 2 minutes into it, Bruno Ferreira was breathing heavily and was like sort of gassed, like he had his mouth open all the way. It was a bad look early on, but then he turned it around, kind of gritted down, sort of like Imavov in the middle of the Cannonier fight, and was able to get a real TKO. So great win from Bruno Ferreira, but the gas tank, definitely a little bit questionable. Let's get on to the next one. Zachary Reese versus Marquez, the real Logan Paul. Sounds exactly like Logan Paul and looks pretty similar to him too. Knocks out Julian Marquez in the first round with a nasty uppercut. Not a whole lot to take away from this. I picked him based on his grappling, and I thought he was going to be able to push a pace on Julian Marquez and take him down and out-grapple him. Didn't need to. Flatlined him in the first round, and, you know, he's one of those guys that got slam KO'd by Cody Brundage, right? Kind of fluked in that one. And you never know what you're going to get with a fighter that gets, like, flukily slammed by a Cody Brundage. Maybe he's a soy boy jiu-jitsu tofu build nerd. But no, we found out that he actually has some pop in his hands and nasty uppercuts. And that's something that I've also noticed while watching his fights before the UFC, is he does have some pretty good uppercuts. Let's get on to the next one. Miguel Baeza versus Soriano. Miguel Baeza lost this fight and basically quit and was getting thrown around like a flimsy ragdoll. Okay? Punelli Soriano, the KO guy, the big power puncher, the guy that got out-grappled by Dustin Stoltzfus, totally ragdolled Miguel Baeza. But the issue that I had with this, I did pick Baeza, but I picked him because I thought he was going to stand with Punelli Soriano, and I was thinking this was going to be a stand-up fight. It was quite the opposite. And it was a good win for Punelli Soriano. He pushed that classic Eric Nixick Extreme Couture Wrestling pace, but Miguel Baeza, the way that he gassed himself out and the way that he basically gave away this fight, tossed it away, was in the first round. He got taken down by Punelli Soriano. Instead of trying to get up to his feet, he goes for a heel hook, and he's getting punched in the face. He's getting wailed on, straight up hammer fists, okay? And he's just stubbornly going for this heel hook, this ankle lock, for like 2 minutes straight. These never work in MMA. I don't remember the last time I've seen one. I think the last time that worked in a high-level MMA fight, or I can't even say it's that high level because it's Ryan Hall versus washed-up BJ Penn, but that's the last time I've seen it work in a UFC fight. We hardly ever see people tap to these heel hooks, ankle locks. The last one I've seen in MMA was Sage Northcutt versus some random Dagestani fighter in ONE FC. But you never know who they're putting Sage Northcutt against. Like, Shamil Blabgaziev was a volleyball player, right? They could be putting Sage Northcutt in there with a golfer that has never actually grappled but looks like a grappler. You never know. People never tap to these. You should stop going for them. No MMA fighter should go for ankle locks and heel hooks. No one ever gets them. He stubbornly went for it for 2 minutes straight, accepted damage on the ground, and basically just folded after that and just got thrown around for the rest of the fight and just accepted bottom position the whole time, bro. And at a certain point, it was like, all right, like, Soriano's got so much momentum, he's not going to lose it, and he did really well, and he was able to capitalize off of it. But, man, Baeza really threw that in the first round and just looked defeated mentally in the second and third. So, I mean, if he's getting out-grappled against Punelli Soriano, who's a KO guy, if he's getting done like that on the ground and making Soriano look like Khabib when Soriano got out-grappled and submitted by Dustin Stoltzfus, I don't know what he's going to be able to accomplish in the UFC. You may want to hang him up. Straight up. Either way, let's get on to the next one. Ludovit Klein versus Moises. I think this deserves a Performance of the Night award. Ludovit Klein beat up Thiago Moises on the feet. All right. Dropped him twice in this fight. There was a delayed knockdown at the end of the first. There was a knockdown in the third round. Thank goodness the ref didn't step in. And there's another example of someone getting rocked. Hey, Thiago Moises got rocked. Why not stop the fight? Right? Well, you don't, because that's not what you do in MMA. People get hurt. People get rocked sometimes. Not only did Ludovit Klein clearly outstrike Thiago Moises, but he also outgrappled him. And I picked him to win this fight based on the striking. His takedown defense is all right, but it was really proven tonight. Moises doesn't have the best chain wrestling. He can't really push a crazy pace in the grappling, but he had some decent takedown entries. Every single one of them got denied with ease. So Ludovit Klein was showcasing a great sprawl ability in this fight. Started taking down Moises towards the end of this fight as well. Just had a masterclass performance over Thiago Moises, outstriking him, hurting him at the end of the first round, hurting him at the end of the second, boxing him up on the feet, landing great straight punches, landing crazy leg kicks and head kicks here and there. Just a really well-rounded approach. And, man, I really looked past Ludovit Klein after his fight with Jai Herbert, where he had like a pitter-pat decision loss to Jai Herbert. And then he beat Ignacio Bahamondes, but Ignacio wasn't throwing any kicks. And I was like, damn, how are you losing to Ludovit Klein, bro? What the fuck? Ludovit Klein lost a pitter-pat decision to Jai Herbert, the decision merchant. But since then, that win has aged well. His last performance was a masterclass as well. And Moises, not a can, but a bit of a tough out, right? He's going to make you work. He's going to land strikes of his own. He looked pretty decent at times on the feet. Had some pretty whippy and fast kicks in this fight. We know that he's good on the ground. He even took down Klein at one point and got reversed, which is crazy. Since then, Ludovit Klein has been making a run in the lightweight division, and I think he's a prospect to watch. And he's strong, which is going to be something that is good for this guy at lightweight, and his takedown defense, as we saw tonight. So I like this guy's style, and I want to see him fight a lot, because I think he's like one fight away from making a real name for himself. But the hardcore fans are taking notice of Ludovit Klein's ability and his takedown defense. Again, that's the way you're going to lose to Thiago Moises, when you have decent striking. And it held up. And then some more. So, amazing performance from Ludovit Klein. Let's get on to the next one. Carlos Prates versus Charles Radke. This is the KO of the night, okay? One of the sickest body shot KOs I've ever seen. Step-in knee to the solar plexus. Right before he landed it, he had rocked Radke. Again, ref doesn't step in because you don't just step in for someone getting rocked. Either way, he rocked Radke with like a good counter shot. I don't remember exactly what he hit him with, but it was something to the face. And he started gloating over it. And he started yelling in Radke's face, boasting about it, and immediately after gets him with a solar plexus knee. Beautiful body shot TKO. He was whooping up Radke with knees, with elbows, with kicks at range, with straight shots. And Radke, he's got enough salt to fill a salt mine. Charles Radke, again, people forget, man, but he's the guy that covers Joe Pyfer's shift at the salt mine when Joe Pyfer fights. He's salty. You don't want to get hit by him, and you don't want to stand in front of him, and you certainly don't want that guy to get his hands on you. So he's out there. He's got the steam coming out of his ears. And Carlos Prates, man, just straight up finesseful KOs this guy with a solar plexus knee. He's Anderson Silva in the new age. I'm telling you right now, this is a young Anderson Silva. Will he have the same career? Well, it's the modern era. I don't know, but his striking really reminds me of him. Right? Anderson Silva was getting step-in knee KOs. Anderson Silva was getting one-punch finesse KOs. Long and rangy strikes. Right? Prates is a very difficult fighter to figure out. And he's sneaky, and he's got so many different shots to hit you with. And like Anderson Silva, Brazilian, joins the UFC when he's in his prime, 30 years old. And he's taken a couple losses back in the day. Anderson Silva, before he gets to the UFC, loses a couple times in pride, gets submitted, and then he learns from that. But Carlos Prates, man, his UFC debut, he didn't look that great. He looked a little bit underwhelming, but he was up against a better opponent. And of course, he may have had the octagon jitters. It was his first ever UFC fight, and he still got the KO over Trevin Giles, who's not someone that's easily put away. And here he gets a nice KO over Charles Radke. And I know Radke's not that great, but again, the way he did it, step in knee to the solar plexus, tuning him up on the feet, stuffing takedowns. I mean, what more could you want? First round finish. The modern day Anderson Silva. He really reminds me of him. And I know people are going to be saying, dude, come on. You can't possibly. I can. They're both long, rangy, tall strikers from Brazil, joining the UFC at the age of 30, knocking people out with one-shot KOs. All right? Either way, let's get on to the next one. Oh, no, you can't tell me. He's fighting Radke, though. Okay, Silva was beating Chris Lieben in his UFC debut. All right, let's relax. I'm not saying he's on Anderson Silva's career legacy resume level. I'm just saying he's good, and he reminds me of him. Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. I picked Jesse Butler in this fight because Brad Katona is a tough winner, a multiple-time tough winner, which means he's been cut from the UFC, and he's losing to people that aren't that good, and he's going life and death with Cody Gibson, who's an old head. And I'm thinking, you know what? People are saying Jesse Butler's trash, but they're acting like this dude has lost 5 times in the UFC. People were telling me, Jesse Butler has no chin, he's trash. He lost to Jim Miller, got punched once in the face and lost. Before that, he had won maybe 6 fights in a row, had lost last in 2019, so he gets finished once by Jim Miller, and I'm just supposed to write him off and say he's trash. 1 fight against a decent opponent. Jim Miller's not a slouch. So I picked him to win this because he has a 10-inch reach advantage, and Brad Katona hasn't been able to hold anyone down. That's why I picked against Brad Katona, who can't finish people, who doesn't have the best takedown and controllability. But I definitely looked past this, and it's never failed, and it held up again, even though it didn't necessarily hold up with Baeza and Punelli Soriano. But Baeza ain't that. Baeza fucking went for a heel hook, all right? That's different. The skill gap that happens to take place when a fighter moves down a weight class. The divisional skill gap. Brad Katona, bantamweight. Jesse Butler fighting Jim Miller at 155 pounds. Not only are you moving down a weight class, you're moving down 2. We saw what Kevin Holland did to a former light heavyweight. And look at what just happened in this fight. So the divisional skill gap holds up again. Okay, Brad Katona can't really hold down Cody Gibson. Can't hold down Garrett Armfield. Can't finish a fly. Can't do any ground and pound damage. Okay? But tonight, he did just that. And I think there's a serious divisional skill gap when it comes to grappling, especially. And credit to Brad Katona because he actually made this somewhat entertaining. And in the 3rd round, after grappling for 2 rounds and having his way, easily out-grappling Jesse Butler, taking him down with ease, he struck with him for at least 3 minutes. And you got to respect that because he was ahead on the scorecards by quite a bit and risked it on the feet against a longer, rangier guy with a serious reach advantage. So Brad Katona got a good win. I know people are going to be calling him boring, but he was actively grappling in the 2nd round of this fight and at the end of the 3rd. Like, he was landing good ground and pound strikes. He even cut open Jesse Butler. So I got to give him some respect. He made it somewhat entertaining. There wasn't a lot of boring grappling on this card. Andrea Lee versus De La Rosa. Man, what a war. But, you know, let's get on to the next one. It was a decent fight. Castaneda versus Marcos. Marcos gets it done. Hurts Castaneda on a couple of occasions. Hurts him bad. And outstruck him. Made him look a little bit easy. Daniel Marcos got a bunch of great step-in knees and nice right hands landed. He's got some really good straight shots. So, good win from Daniel Marcos as well, who extends his streak to 16-0. I know he had a no contest in one of his last fights, but Daniel Marcos is another guy to keep your eye out on at bantamweight. I'd like to see him fight someone else with a name. All right, maybe you could do Daniel Marcos versus Peyton Talbot. If Peyton Talbot wins on UFC 303, that would be a good fight to make, but he's also a fun fighter to watch. Cody Stamann and Taylor Lapulus had a good scrap. Taylor Lapulus just showcasing a bit of a striking skill advantage. And that was that. That was basically the card. All right, I went 7-6 on picks. I was okay going 8-5. But then, of course, the referee robbed both Jared Cannonier and Nassourdine Imavov from a definitive fight. We don't know what would have happened. So, you know, in a perfect world, we went 7-5. All right, but, you know, if you want to really count what happened on paper, then we went 7-6. Not necessarily the best night of predictions, but a really good night of fights ruined by a horrible referee decision in the main event, which totally fucked Jared Cannonier's career in the UFC and title hopes and dreams, and ruined Nassourdine Imavov's big TKO moment, which may have been a TKO. We'll never actually find out. It won't be without controversy. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.